The last part of our demonstration is running the application. In order to run the application, we'll use Docker and Docker Compose to start our container. We'll do this from VS Code for now, but you can do it from your favorite CLI. So I'll simply run Docker Compose up -d -- build. This will run for a few seconds. Eventually, you should see something like this, that your container Smart UI was started. Now we can open a browser at HTTPS localhost and browse to our application. I opened a debugger so we can take a look at some interesting things that will be happening behind the scenes. The first screen is a login screen, and we'll use the user that we created on our OAuth server, auth0. You can see we are redirected to the auth0 login screen. I put in my username and my password. And behind the scenes, you can see we're going to the auth server to log in, and now we're asked to provide consent for the request. So we see we're giving access to our email. And remember the scope, the permissions we define on the OAuth server, user, and all of the FHIR resources and all the permissions. So we have read and write, and I'll accept this. Now we are logged into the application and we see the start screen. Now what happened behind the scenes, if we look at one of the requests here, this request went to the FHIR server /patient, searching for a patient with an email, the email that I logged in with for testing.mail. And it did not find any patients with this email. That's why we got this start screen. Now, if we take a closer look at the request, we will be able to see that the request has a bearer token, the authorization. If I grab this JWT, this JSON web token, and I paste it into, for example, JWT.io to inspect this token, let's see what we can see. So this is our token, and I can see, for example, our OAuth server. I can see, for example, our client ID. I can see the scopes, including the FHIR resources with the read and write permissions. And I can see, for example, our audience, the FHIR server endpoint. So all of these things are in the token. And this is what the FHIR server is using to being able to authorize the requests. So this was a get, right? Actually a search for resources. Now I'll press start and start putting in some information. So let's say my name is John Doe, and we'll put in some other details. When I click save, again, what is happening behind the scenes is that we are actually posting this time this information to the server. So we created a patient resource with the FHIR resource as the payload. So we have John Doe, our patient, here inside the information that we sent. And here I can also create more information. So for example, the heart rate. I can go and enter in some information. So I have, let's say, 70, and I'll put some other values so we see what happens. We can see the graph below was created. So again, what's happening behind the scenes is we are posting observations, and each time we are searching for the observations for this specific patient. So we have an observation, another observation, and all of these requests are going to the FHIR server, creating resources or searching for resources and displaying them, all using the smart on FHIR authorization process behind the scenes.